Hi everyone, this is Nick, and today I'm going to be making a video on how you can join the 3% of traders who successfully make it to the first payout with a prop firm. I saw this stat, or I heard this stat on a podcast recently. One of the biggest prop firms out there estimate only 3% actually make it to that first point where their funded account reaches a large enough amount where they can take money out. And that's incredibly low. I want to get that up, and I'm going to share with you how you would do that. And I'm going to use Bullrunner as the example because that's who I trade with. So to jump straight in there, you need to be process orientated, not profit orientated. Okay. A good process leads to profits, not the other way around. If you just jump into one of the challenge accounts with Bullrunner or anybody, and your only goal is to try to hit the targets and to get to that point where you pull some money out, it's very unlikely they're going to be able to do so. You need to have a process in place which gives you that profitable graph, that gives you that long-term sustainability. I always say to my trading buddy actually that it's a long-term goal, not short-term goals. Our goal isn't to make that first $1,000 withdrawal. Our goal is to make hundreds of thousands of dollars over the coming years. The only way you can do that is have a good process. And if you have that, then you're going to hit that first payout point anyway. So your entire trading journey should be focused on how you can keep on improving, right? You kind of want to look at your strategy, your edge as a bit of a curve, and you need to stay ahead of that curve for you to continue to profit from it. There's going to be different ways you can do this. Obviously, your strategy itself, and also your trading psychology and your trading performance. You need to have a process that will keep on improving that. A lot of the videos I have on my channel go through how you can do that, how you can focus on improving. You need plans in place so that you can every week review efficiently to get better. You are not trading to make money. And this applies to whether you are trading your own account or a funded account. You are trading to execute your strategy. I kind of see the whole time I'm trading as constant testing of my edge, to test myself as how accurate I am, and also to test the strategy I'm trading to see if it is still providing the same edge that it was. I'm constantly reviewing. I'm looking, okay, back over the last 20 trades, how much did it make? Over the last 50 trades, how much did it make? How does that profit curve change? What is changing in the market? I'm constantly, I'm not saying, right, I've got my strategy, now I'm done, I'm just going to go and trade it. The whole time I'm going, okay, my strategy is working really well at the moment. Why is it working well? You know, how can I compare it to when it wasn't working well? What was different? You're constantly testing. The only way you can test is if you're getting accurate data. You need to have a daily routine to benefit your trading performance. A big thing that I've actually spoken about in another video and to the person directly is plan your meals out. I mean, it sounds crazy, right? What's that got to do with it? If you have a huge amount for breakfast, half an hour before you trade, you're going to be sluggish. If you are a scalper, you're trying to take quick moves and you've just had a huge plate of food, you're probably not going to make very good decisions. So, if you want to be a professional trader, plan your meals. Have low carb, high protein meals an hour and a half, 2 hours before you trade. Make sure you're hydrated before you trade. Make sure that your pre-market preparation doesn't make you so anxious and worked up. Keep it simple so that when you go into the day trading, you're more likely to perform at your best. You really want to try to make as much of your life simple as possible so you can give more of your thoughts, more of your mental energy to trading. There was obviously the famous case of Steve Jobs, who would wear the same clothes every day so he didn't have to think about it, and that would save some of his mental capacity for later on. It's the same in trading. If you eat the same kind of foods, if you have the same kind of routine, you don't have to think about it, which means that when you get to the first trade of the day, you're fully your full mental capital is there. So make sure, regardless of if you are trying to do a prop firm or on your own, process over profit. And if you have been jumping into challenges or thinking about jumping into it without having a process, you need to take a step back. You must know your strategy inside out, right? If you know that your strategy makes money, then all you have to do is execute. If you have data showing that in the last 100 trades, your edge has shown an average return of 0.8 times your risk per trade, 0.8 R per trade, then assuming that that edge continues, all you have to do is click the button to execute it. So go out and backtest and get a lot of data. If you are going to join Bullnox, then you can very, very easily get a lot of data on futures contracts. I'm going to make a whole video on how you can look further back in the past with futures on shorter time frames than you can on stocks. Okay, you can go out and get that data, which is really valuable because you can then get a much wider view of how profitable or how the edge changes in different conditions and how profitable it is over a longer period. You want to make sure you know exactly what your entry trigger is and how you set your targets and your stop loss. You do not want to be going, oh, I'm not sure if this is a trade or not, and then taking it and then finding out later that was a complete mistake. You don't want to get in and not know how you set your profit targets and then potentially get out earlier and risk destroying your risk rewards, right? All of these little things. I see so many traders just saying, oh, I got in here because, and they sort of like talk about things that aren't necessarily their strategy. It should be a case of, I got in here because my strategy does this, right? If you know your strategy inside out, you don't need to explain an entry. It's just, well, it's my strategy. Okay, and same with your stops, right? Don't if your strategy is I stop out over the previous high when I'm short, then that's what it is. You'd say, well, I stopped out where my strategy tells me to. If your target is 3 times that, then that's your strategy. You don't go, well, I got out of this because I began seeing some strength coming in. If you do that, you're not really looking at the stats and you're not looking at your data and you can't know if it's the best thing to do. Never guess when trading. If you're not sure, don't trade and find out. And that is particularly important in the initial challenge, you know, the stage where you haven't been funded yet and you're proving that you can make the money. If you've got a setup and you're not certain, do not risk making a bad trade. Just wait, hold off and go, okay, I'm going to go and find out if that is a trade or not. Maybe after the trading session, so you're not biased to want to take the trade. When you are funded, the same thing applies. You want to take the best setups only, especially early on, especially like that first period where you might have like say $2,500 worth of drawdown on the Bullnox $50,000 account, for example. You do not want to be saying, I'm not certain on this, but I'm going to take it anyway. You want to stick to the best quality setups to get yourself out of that 2.5K drawdown period. And then once you've got to 5K, 7K, 8K, you can begin going, okay, I'm not 100% certain on this one. Maybe I'll take it with very small size and then go and test it. But in those early stages, you definitely don't. And to be honest, even later on, you probably shouldn't be. Every time you have a gray area trade, spend some time setting black and white rules for the next time. All right, I've talked about this in other videos. When you have a trade and you're not certain if it is or not, don't take it. And after the session, go and look at it and go, okay, what rule can I put in to make sure that I do or don't take this trade in the future? And again, ideally you want to base that on backtested data. The key here is before you start a challenge, you should know exactly what your strategy is. You should not be after day 1 going, oh, that's interesting, I learned something new, right? You shouldn't be learning on the job, right? I always look at trading as you're almost like a pilot, okay? You do not want to be learning how to fly a plane whilst flying a plane. You learn in books, then you go in a simulator, and then once you're at a point like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing now, I've been through as many scenarios as I can, and it's time to actually fly, that's when you go and do it. You know how to fly inside out. You could do it with your eyes closed. That's what you want to do with trading. And when you go for that challenge account, you need to know exactly what your strategy is, exactly where the edge is, and how to execute it. And all you need to now do is click the button. Practice before you apply. This is something that so many people, I think, get very wrong. The challenge accounts are not free and they are not for practice. There is no point in saying, I'm going to buy a funded account, I'm going to trade the smallest size possible, and I'm going to use that as just experience. It's a cheap way of getting experience. That is a complete waste of time, okay? You can get a paper trading account for free and practice your performance there. The challenge is the proof that you have a profitable edge, right? Look at it, instead of looking at it as, oh, I'm going to see if I can do it, look at the case of step one, make sure you have a profitable edge. Step two, make sure you can execute that profitable edge. Step three, now I have this challenge that I can go and pass to get the money. Okay? It's not proving your, it's not an opportunity for you to practice. It's an opportunity really for somebody to say, I know I have an edge. I know I trade it well. Now I'm going to show you because I want access to the funds to trade it for large money. Okay. Me personally, I did exactly this, right? I backtested, I paper traded until I was like, yep, I'm executing this with very high accuracy. I then actually traded a real money account for a very small size. Once I was at a point where I was like, okay, the edge is clear, my execution is very high. Then I got the challenge account, and guess what? I passed 3 challenge accounts inside of like a month and a half of doing them. Like as in I did one within 2 weeks. The next one I did about a month later and did it within 1 week. And the next one I did about a week later and did it in a couple of days. The reason why, because I made sure I had my edge. I had practiced and was very good at executing it. So by the time the challenge came along, I was just clicking the button, right? So practice until you have that high accuracy level. Don't worry about profit, worry about accuracy. Long term, if your accuracy is poor, at some point you are going to blow your funded account anyway. So it needs to be high. Yeah, as I said, a pilot doesn't jump into Copec just after reading the book. The cool thing as well with paper trading, it gives you a chance to be sure your edge is profitable in a live market. If you paper trade for 2 weeks and you're like, I took every single trade perfectly and I lost 7R, maybe you probably want to reconsider your backtesting. If you'd gone and done that in a live in a challenge account, you'd have blown the challenge account. You'd have had to pay, you know, how much you pay with the deals that you get, etc. And you're still in the same position. So use that opportunity to do it for free, and then jump in when you're sure. Keep costs low. This is a huge thing. The lower your costs, the more chances you give yourself at getting funded. If you are paying the full amount, the $200 for a $50,000 account, and you've put aside $1,000 for trading, you have 5 shots at it before you're done. Okay. There's also with Bullnox in particular, there is then a secondary fee, right? There's the initial pay, there's the initial fee, and then there's like another $150 that you pay to get the access to the funded account. So therefore, you want to use discount codes. You want to get the challenge accounts at the cheapest point possible, so that instead of saying, right, I've got $1,000 aside, I've probably got 4 or 5 shots at it, saying, well, now I've got $1,000 aside, I might get 10 shots at it. The cool thing with this as well is you can get funded once, twice, 3 times for a very small amount. Now, I've got on my website at guidedtradingmeditations.com/bullnox-deals. The link's in the description below. I will be updating this with the best deals that I can offer through my affiliation with Bullnox. Now, I get kickbacks from that. I'm not going to hide that. However, I'm also giving you guys, I think, the best deals that you can get. I've in the past, I've searched up and found slightly better deals, but often those deals, there's a difference of a few percent, and they're not always reliable. You go and you look and you find about 20 deals and one works. If you go onto the site, and in March, this is the code as well. In March, you get 40% off any account. If you go onto my site, click on the link in the description. If it's in a month's time, 2 months' time, I will update this as much as I can. I'm away for a few months in the summer, so I might not be able to then, but I will keep on updating this. And if there is a 70%, 80% deal that I can provide, it will be on the website. So all you need to do is go on the website, click on the link on that website and use a discount code, and you will get that. If you can find a better one, use that. Okay, if you can find one that's 80% and I can only give 40%, obviously use the 80%. It is all about keeping the costs low. Now, when people talk about edge in trading, I like to really say that is your stats. You have your performance stats and your strategy stats. If you are not tracking your performance, if you are not tracking your strategy, then you're essentially in the dark as to how likely you are to succeed. So really what you need to be doing is tracking every trade that you take to see your own performance and track every trade that your strategy would take. When you do this, you begin to learn when your strategy works best, when you should increase size, when you should maybe step back and decrease size, or maybe change your risk reward parameters. You probably want a lot of this before you want to do, or you definitely want this before you do the challenge account. This is all part of backtesting. But the way you continue to stay ahead of the curve of your edge, the profit curve, you need to keep on collecting this information. You can keep on refining, keep on investigating, always be curious. I spend probably 4 or 5 hours every single week looking at my strategy and going, is there a way that I can make this more profitable? Is there a way that I can add some new rule that will cut out a lot of my losses and keep almost all of my winners? If you constantly do this, the way I kind of look at it for me is you want to become the best trader who trades your type of edge in the world. Because if only 3% make it, you probably need to be one of the best. The only way you do that is you keep on investigating your edge, you keep refining it, you get curious, you look for ways to make it better. Track your performance and learn where you make mistakes and why you make them. I've got tons of videos on that on this channel. I've also got courses on my site which essentially teach you how to coach yourself. But the whole point here is if you look through your last 20 trades and you go, you know what, my performance sucked. Why did you make those mistakes? When did they happen? What were you thinking at the time? What is the connecting factor? Because if you can find the connection between 6 losses and you go, you know what, every one of those happened immediately after I took a loss that was a good trade, maybe it's revenge trading, right? Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's anger. Figure out, okay, when that happens, the thought was, I need to make this money back. Perfect. Now you can now go off and find a way to actually improve on that. And like I said, I've got videos on here that talk exactly about that. If you combine a profitable edge with high accuracy, there is a very high likelihood of success. And that is just, plain and simple. If you know that your edge makes every 100 trades 70 times your risk, and you have 50 trades a month, as long as you click the button, as long as you click the button at the right time and you execute well, then you will, over the long term, be successful. And that's simple, that's maths. But you need to know what your edge is. You need to know how you're performing. Now you need to also plan your challenge. If you have done all those steps, if you have backtested an edge to make sure it works, paper traded it at a very high accuracy, and it's also showing solid profit, you've made those improvements to your performance, you've made refinements to make it more profitable. If you have that, okay, clear edge, execute on paper, high accuracy level, being completely honest, do not trade micros in the challenge. If you're looking to try and make $2,500, the $3,000 profit mark on the 50K account, if you're trading micros, you're going to have to win a hell of a lot. Because, for me, one micro contract on the NASDAQ, for me, I'd be risking $40 per contract. And I have like a 20-point risk. For me to make $3,000, you're looking at, what's that, like 75 R? That's probably 3 months worth of trading. There's no point to that. If you know you have a successful edge, trade minis, accept that you might have to reset once or twice, but it means that at some point you're going to have a string of winners on the minis, which will pass your account. Okay? If you've proven yourself, you don't need to worry if it takes you a couple of tries, because once you've got the account, you can make that money back really easily. So I would suggest, if you know that you have that edge, try to get funded inside of 5 or 10 days. Take a size that does that. And if you do, amazing. And if you don't, just take another one. You haven't spent any money on paper trading. You know you have the clearance. You know it's going to happen. It might suck, but it's a much better way than going, I'm going to trade micros. I'm going to make sure I get there slow and steady. Great. It takes you 3 months to get there. And that 70R that you've had to make, if you'd have just done it, if you'd have got funded in the first 10R, that next 60R is profit in your pocket. Really important thing, make sure you know the rules, okay? Make sure you know what the max drawdown on your daily max drawdown is on your account. Make sure you know what the maximum drawdown is on the account that you're trading. These can change. They can make updates, so make sure you know. Also, make sure that you are using with Bullnox the right account for you. I use the option 2 because I hate the idea of being up $600-700 on a trade, that trade turning into a loss and losing $600 or $700 of drawdown. I've made a video on that, on the everything you need to know about Bullnox video. Make sure you know the rules. Do enough research so that you know exactly what you need to do in order to pass, and exactly what you need to not do to avoid failing one of the rules. And finally, don't be afraid to fail. When you fail, you learn. Okay, it's a learning opportunity. Think about when you learn how to walk, or a baby that's learning how to walk. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, fall over. They take a step, they fall over. Eventually, they figure out how to walk. With a funded account, it's kind of the same. Those first attempts to stand up, those first attempts to take a step, do that on paper. Once you have proven, you know what, I'm like the baby that can walk now, awesome. Get a funded account, but don't be afraid in that challenge to fall over. At some point, you're going to walk long enough to get funded. And then once you are funded, I'm going to make another video on some of the adjustments you can make. You can drop down the size and take your time until you're at a point where you're now, I can easily run. Okay? A lot of successful prop traders that I have seen on YouTube, they use the challenge as a way to access the funds quickly. They don't care about the $200, the $500, the $800 that they have spent on the challenge account and trying to get funded, because they know that they are successful. They have got a track record, however that track record may be. They know they make money, so they don't care if they spend $700 on a funded account and then they blow it on the first day, because they know that in the long run, it might take them 2 or 3 goes with the size they're trading, but eventually they're going to get funded. And if they've only spent, say, $1,400 and they have access to a $100,000 account with 10K of drawdown, well, they've spent $1,400 to get $10,000. And they're then going to be able to trade a huge size compared to if they just put up, a few $1,000s into their own personal account. And that's the big thing. That should be own, not won, but it's still cheaper than your own account. If you pay, if you use a discount code and can pay like $100 for the 50K account to try and get funded, and you fail, well, it's a $70 reset. Let's say it takes you 4 times. It's your 5th attempt, so it's taking you 4 resets. Okay, you've spent $100 once and then 4 lots of 70. That's a total of $380, is that right? 240, yeah, 380. So of $380 that you've spent, and then another 150. So you spent $530 to get this account. Well, it's still cheaper than if you'd have traded your own account and been and it's those 4 attempts where you lost 2.5K in four attempts. And even if that was trading bigger size, you would have only traded, say, a tenth of the size. You would have still lost $1,000 over those 4 attempts. And then, yeah, great, you've now made a few hundred back. You'd have been down 700 in your own account, whereas now it's like, well, I've only lost 500, but I have access to much larger sizing. So it's a fantastic way of still getting access to funds. You just need to make sure that before you do it, like I said, you have to have a strategy that is profitable. You have to have proof that you make money doing it. And when you have that, the challenge becomes incredibly easy, because you're literally just going, okay, I just need to click the buttons and I know in the long term I make money. Now in the next video, I'm going to make another video on what to do once you're funded. which will kind of be a follow-up from this, because obviously this has spoken more about how to prepare yourself for the challenge, how to get to the point where you're you've passed the challenge and you're at that point where you're funded. The cool thing is, when you become funded, everything doesn't change. You're like, oh, now I have to trade something different. You trade the same strategy. If you've just spent 2 months back testing paper trading and then get funded, you now can use the exact same strategy trading real prop firm money. And even if you size down significantly, you will make that you will get to a point where you're getting that first cash out, you're making 10k, 15k, 20k, and then you can really see the growth. So make sure to check out that video. Again, link down below will take you to my site, which has the best deals that I can give. At the moment it's 40%, some months it's 70%. Feel free to use those, and if you can find a better deal, use that as well. But do not pay full charge, because there is really no need to. You can get it a lot cheaper, make this a lot easier on yourself. I always think if you've only paid, say you get a 70% discount, you've only paid $60 for a 50k funded account. It's very easy to just trade without really thinking about it. Okay, it's a big thing. Don't think about the money that you might get in the future. It's like, well, it cost me $60 to get this, so it doesn't really matter if I blow it. If you're trying to go for a challenge, best of luck. If you've watched this and thought, I'm not there yet, good. Get there and then go for the challenge and then get funded. Thanks for watching till the end of the video. Just adding a quick piece in here so that you know what extra services I have to help you become a better trader. On my site, guidedtradingmeditations.com, you can find my new course, The Trading Blueprint, which gives you a full guide on how to create an edge, test it, start trading it, and scale up. There are sections included on how to find the weaknesses in your trading, and then how to resolve them, as well as many other bits of information that I've gathered in my years of experience. The aim of the course is to make you a fully independent trader, so you don't need to pay ever-growing monthly fees to be in a chat room. There's no specific edge needed. You can use this in any market with any trading style. If you're at a stage in your trading where you're struggling and would prefer a more in-depth look at your own personal weaknesses and ongoing support, you can also book one-on-one coaching with me on the site. There's a cool breakdown on the screen right now, so pause the video and read through it, and if it's something you're interested in, check it out. There's a ton of other content on the site that I'm really proud of and I've really enjoyed making. So if you're interested, please check it out. I'm sure there'll be something on there that can help your trading. You can reach me on Twitter. My handle is in the description down below. You can send me a DM if you'd like any more information. And make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with future videos.